we need to know a little bit more about fast markets. We need to know a little bit more about multiple offers, and we need to know a little bit more from Cheryl Wilkes. So let's get Cheryl Wilkes all connected to here, and I will tell you a little bit about her. So we often work with a series of different lenders, and we like people that also work with a series of different lenders. It helps people get some perspective. Sometimes our clients are already working with somebody, and we need to put a second horse in the race. And if you get a chance to bet on Cheryl, you should bet on Cheryl. So moving with a mortgage is what we're talking about. We have Cheryl Wilkes from Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages, and we appreciate you coming in to chat with us a little bit tonight. Good to see you.
You too. I was going to say, I literally been watching you for the last little bit on my phone while I was hanging out here at the office.
Is there anything I need to change? Am I all crooked?
No, you don't have that sideways one eyeball issue going on.
So thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for helping so many of our clients get prepared, because a lot of the time when they think about talking about mortgages, they're only thinking about talking about it when they're thinking about a sale.
Totally. Yeah.
Or, sorry, when they're thinking about purchase rather. But when we're talking about sales, well, where are you going to go?
And what are you going to do, and how are you going to do it, and in what order? And oh yeah, it's the can of worms of questions.
Yeah, so there's so many people that come to us and they kind of manifest as buyers because that's what they're focused on. If they're going to move, the next thought is like, where am I going? And so they take a look at property out there, and all of a sudden there's a property that they really like, and then we find out that they've also got a property to sell, and it's not prepared yet. You know, right now in fast markets, subject to sale could be a recipe for heartache and woe, because you're not the only one who wants that property in most cases. So when we're talking to a client that is getting ready to approach that buy and sell process, and they come into your office, what are the bases that you want to cover out of the gate?
It's really figuring out, what the options are, right? So, does that first property have to be sold to qualify for the second one? Is the equity, the down payment coming out of one to go into two, or do they have, some of their own cash? Is there a cosigner option potentially if property 1 and 2 are not affordable, or, is looking at all the different moving parts to kind of determine, okay, what is plan ABC, which is your best case scenario? But if that's not happening, because like you said, they try and put in an offer with, pending home sale or something like that, do we also have plan LMNOP already planned, decided, discussed, and, there's no surprises, right?
I love the attitude. I love the optimism. Like, hey, plan A doesn't work. Lucky for us, 25 more letters.
Yeah.
And then we go numbers, and then there's some symbols.
XYZs are normally the ones people just don't want. LMNOP is like the mid-range of like, okay.
I like it. So when that's something that I don't think that people understand is how this translates into the purchase as well. Like we work with lenders that have great reputations. Like you are a real estate investment network mortgage broker of the year. You have a lot of relationships in real estate. And we know when we're bringing an offer in for multiple offers, like we have a competition package here. That's something that might not be heard of in our marketplace, but we're in it to win it. And we know that when we tell people that you're working on it, the right conversations have happened, meaning that we all get in alignment. We understand what our clients' expectations are. We're normally talking about where they want to actually make a purchase, but sometimes we're also talking about that home run number. So if we get into if we're standing in a house together and we're all like, okay, this is going over the fence. Like this is everything we wanted on every list, and we're in a lineup with 7 other people. What do we do now? And so often we'll end up coming up with market research that says that this property is actually it's undervalued. Given how the market's changed, they're working with old information from like 4 months ago. They're 2% down market already. And, in an average price point in the greater Edmonton area, we're talking about $8,000 off. They might've listed at 400 when they can already, we could see an appraisal come in at 410.
Exactly. And it's happening more than we've ever seen in years, that appraisals are actually coming in above value. We were like praying for them to come in at value sometimes, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, so with all these multiple offers going on, the people that are normally making the largest investment are the banks. So most people are putting less than 50% down. Normally it's a small amount. It's 5%, it's 10%, it's 20%. We're dealing with a lot of families, and they're looking to deliver those 18 summers, right? You know,
Yeah.
we're both parents, and just understanding like where the priorities are. So
Totally.
sometimes they're trying to make these money move and patch things and change as they're upgrading their house. This has been something that you've done really well for our clients, is taking a look at the whole field and making a plan.
Right.
And you were saying, do you need to buy one before you sell one? And I like how
Yeah.
you put that, because some people, they might not want to hold one, but we can show them what certainty looks like if it's available on their sale. So with
Exactly.
this much data happening in this part of the spring, like my weekly update on LinkedIn, last week, another record number of solds, but
Totally.
not a record number of listings. So we're in another week.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it's so fast. Like, we joked about this the other day when I saw you. If you weren't around in 207, you feel like your hair's on fire in this industry because you haven't even sniffed what's going on right now, right? Like,
yep.
people are like, like you said, it's kind of that duck out of water feeling where it's like people they're having a hard time navigating it because it's not been our norm. Like some of the bigger cities like Toronto, Vancouver, they know that over market list or over market offers has just been a thing for forever. With us, it's been a long time. So
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that makes it really valuable to be a Remax agent, is the fact that we have a great global network. We're plugged into all the major markets at once, and we can tell you with all certainty. Like, I can tell you right now that throughout North America and every major market, we're in a real estate boom, and I can also tell you that Delhi, India, as well as China, are quiet. And that's something that you don't get without a global brand, and you don't get with this level of connection. So I really appreciate having that information. It helps us make better decisions here. When I was talking about competition packages, saying that we're having Cheryl Wilkes do the mortgage is meaning something in our market now. It's something where it will bring a listing agent certainty so that we can more likely get that offer in. But when we're talking about sellers and we bring them in for you, you're often taking a look at the snapshot that they're in right now, but then making an ideal based on the information that we give you. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about how much their house will sell for, and then you're going to kind of match it up into what the vision is in the future.
Exactly.
That, like, what do we need to do? How many companies need to be involved? Does my mortgage come with me? Do I need to pay it back? How does this work?
Totally. And I mean, and that's always what it boils down to, like you said, is building that sort of the sort of what we might call our master plan, which would always be that plan A. This is your best case scenario, right? Honestly, 99% of people I talk to don't want what we jokingly call a homeless mode, where you sell your house and you've not found the new one, which in this market is like actually happening to people because houses are selling so fast, right? It's figuring out.
Always warned people. We've always warned you that we'll make you homeless. Like, we're not in the business of listing properties. We're in the business of selling properties.
Yeah, totally, right? It's one of those things that, like you said, they're getting into a couple different, offer situations. And, I mean, if they need conditions, if you've got a really solid offer, awesome. But I mean, every once in a while, we all watch that, like you said, a bully offer come in where someone just rustles right through the middle no matter what. And it happens, right? So, I mean, it's like you said, it's treading lightly to say, okay, plan A, plan B, LMNOP sitting in the background. Most people would rather buy their house first and then list and sell afterwards if they can, is what I'm seeing more often, so that they don't run into that strange scenario of like they may have a couple days where they have to stay with family, which during COVID is not happening for a lot of people, right? They're not supposed to be. Or stuck in an Airbnb or a hotel that's got like nobody in it right now.
You know what? We've sent people camping in the past, and I don't even know if you have a camping site now. Like it's like one of those things where the world has changed. And so
camping in your U-Haul truck.
Try to look forward into what can happen, because we don't always know exactly what will happen, but what we're good at is making good plans.
Exactly.
So in our market right now, some of the things that people feel pressure on is these really short conversion times.
Yeah.
So we really stress that they talk to you early.
Yes.
Get that pre-approval in motion. So let's say that somebody was investigating buying or selling, maybe 3 years ago. How's the landscape changed now? Is the lender landscape more inviting or less inviting than it was 3 years ago?
I would say, I mean, the arbitrary answer that everybody hates to hear is it depends. So lenders are still looking at their lending based on risk mitigation, obviously, right? So, I mean, that hasn't changed. That's never changed. Mortgages have always been based on risk levels, right? They're still wanting fairly similar credit scores. They're still looking for job stability. We are seeing some flexibility, though, at least if people's incomes last year with COVID were affected, and either the employers can confirm if they were closed, if somebody was off, or whatever that may be. We're at least seeing some flexibility. Nothing sort of solid yet, but there's at least some relief that's kind of coming from that. In terms of liquid assets, cash, and all that stuff, this is the one that we're watching shift more. Back in the day, as a first-time home buyer or even an upgrade, they were saying, yeah, no problem. You've got your 5% down on the next property. Yeah, you'll sell yours afterwards. No worries. They're now getting stickier about those scenarios. They just want to make sure people have more than their down payment and $50 in their back pocket, right? They want to know that if something happens to an income or things like that, which we just literally have been watch happen for the last 12 months, they want to make sure that you've got a safety net in there, right? I mean, we would like to think all of our clients have it, but it's definitely something that I'm chatting with everybody about, saying, hey, don't empty out your bank account and leave $20. Like, do you really want to be that close to your eyeballs? I don't ever suggest it, because then you're living on cracked dinner for possibly 2 months while you're trying to pay for curtains. You know, like,
Yeah, and that's the big part of making the numbers real.
totally.
You know, like when you finish a mortgage application, you might say like, okay, I can see how you can get a house, but how are you guys going to eat after that?
Totally.
These
Yeah.
children, they want to eat like more than once a day.
We're also shocking people with just those lower rates, right? Like, you know, I've chatted with people where I'm going, yeah, you're selling that first home you bought for, I don't know, say for example, 350, and they think the jump to getting into that, say $500,000 sort of, like you said, longer term, that 13 to 18 years of life that they need if they've got little people, to say I need space. They're a little bit shocked as to how small sometimes that spread can be, because rates are so much lower than where they were, say 3 to 5 years ago, right?
Isn't that crazy? Can you give me the like rough ballpark for $10,000? How much is that per month?
$40 a month right now.
So what you're saying is if 10,000 is 40, 100,000 is 400.
Yeah. It's not much. That's the crazy part.
So that's like a car payment, and you could upgrade $100,000.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because that's really like the average upgrade for most families out there. Is their growing pains, they're going to kind of move up that 100. In some cases right now, we're seeing people make larger jumps right now because they have to school from home, they have to work from home. They're wanting more characteristics, but they're able to achieve that in lower value locations. It's interesting to see people looking to move further out in the city. They don't mind the commute. They might not even go to school or work every day now, just because things are shifting. So it's interesting to see how that's coming into play on your side.
Yeah.
Well, I always really appreciate the advice that you give. We always want people to talk to you early. And if somebody was to call you right now, when would they have their pre-approval back if they had all their stuff ready?
So if they have all their documents ready, we basically can generally get stuff done like same day. Credit pulls literally take like 6 seconds or something like that. I think I timed it once, from me hitting pull and it popping up, right? So, I mean, that's super quick. All of the consent forms, all the major documents in terms of our compliance, everything can be e-signed. It's very electronic friendly. So even the people who struggle a little bit with the electronic signing, DocuSign's pretty simple to use. You know, generally from that first conversation I have with people, we'll chat about some numbers. I'll input all the information into like an actual application to get it rolling. Generally, we're sending an email within about 15 minutes after the conversation is done. Here's what we've discussed. Here's what it sounds like your plan is. Here's the kind of details you asked about. As you and I have joked about before, I'm like a PDF Nazi. So I have like a PDF for everything. So I'm like, here's about the first time buyer's incentive if you're new. Here's renovation mortgages, whatever it is we've discussed. I'm firing out information to kind of follow up with people, because I know the conversation that you can spend on the phone with somebody is so much information to them. Like people joke, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And I'm like, it kind of can be sometimes. So here's the info we talked about to help them kind of compartmentalize. And then we do all of our document collection myself personally. I do everything through a secure server. So I'm literally sending the secure server link to the clients. Here's the checklist. Here's your little PIN number. Load pictures from your phone, PDFs from your computer. As soon as they load it, I'm getting a notification it's there. So, I mean, nowadays with a lot of employers having stuff online, you know, like they can log in and pull letters of employment potentially, T4s from CRA Online, which we actually do have a line in now through the broker channels. If you're signed up for it, I can pull somebody's entire CRA Online profile for them.
Wow. So that's the best thing about them. Not only do they not need to know this much information because they get to bring you with them, but on top of that is that the hard parts, we're usually tracking down all that other stuff. And it sounds like you
Yes.
got that taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. The quickest and the least painful is always the goal in the very beginning. You know, to at least say, okay, it's great you gave me these income numbers. Now let's solidify that, because when you start, all it is numbers to start, right? If I'm messaging or emailing or you know, sending an update to anybody on your team, I'm saying, yeah, we're good to go. Let's pull the trigger and get them out. That if they walk into that perfect house, we know you can put in that offer that night. You know, the amount of phone calls and text messages and emails I feel like I'm getting in this market at about 7 to 8 o'clock at night from people going, we saw the best house ever. How high can we go?
Well, that's the thing that we want to make sure is that not only do they know what they're capable of and what their buying power is, where are they safe? Because the interesting thing is we're not seeing appraisers necessarily give them limits right now. You know, when you take a look at like maybe the last 10 purchases that you had processed that were over list, how many got rejected appraisals? None. And that's what we're getting reported because we ask. I want you to know that when an appraiser calls us and says like, hey, we'd like access for that listing, it's not like, sure, go on Thursday. It's like, hey, what's going on, man? Because we want to know, right? Like we are students of the game, and we appreciate.
You guys might know my guy personally by now, then probably at this point.
Yeah, we got his coffee order.
Right.
So the idea there is that we want to be in the know. We need to know what's happening in mortgages. We need to know what's happening in appraisals. And that's why we wanted to put so many trusted experts tonight. We really appreciate you helping us wrap the show here and talking through a little bit about what it is to engage the market when you already have a house. Like, how do you get this whole process started? And honestly, you get the process started by calling Cheryl. Like you can just give her a ring. We can get you easily connected. You're on our trusted expert list. And that's Cheryl with Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages. Thank you so much for all the assistance that you've given us. You're like the silent person behind so many 5-star experiences that we've been.
I really appreciate the invite and being a part of the event. Because like you said, I mean, the amount of education that people want nowadays, you guys give them 110%. So.
Well, we appreciate your confidence and thank you so much. I hope that you have a fantastic night.